Thanks everybody for joining our 10 Capital Quick Pitch today. We have four amazing companies presenting, and if you have any questions during the session in the audience, I'm going to go ahead and turn the chat on for y'all now. So please post your questions just in the regular chat box, and we'll be able to get to those shortly. With that, Hall, I'm going to bring you up here and let you introduce our investors.
Great. Thanks, Shane. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We have a good group and looking forward to our investors on the panel, as well as our four companies presenting. First up, we have Jordan Clancy of New Mexico Angels. Jordan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your group?
Yeah, we're a New Mexico-based angel group, and also have a sidecar fund called the New Mexico Vintage Fund. But basically, we focus mainly in New Mexico entrepreneurs or companies that will have an impact on the New Mexico economy. Check sizes at the angel level are 10 to 25,000. On the sidecar side, we're 50 to 250,000.
Great, thanks. And we also have with us Phil Nadell of Forefront Venture Partners in Florida. Phil, can you tell us about yourself and your group?
Yep, I'm the managing director of Forefront Venture Partners. We invest in post-revenue companies raising seed to Series B rounds. Typical check is $500,000 to $1 million. We invest all over the U.S. and a little bit internationally as well. We're sector agnostic, but we really focus on capital efficient companies. And yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Great. Thanks, Phil. Our first company today is Health Connects. We have Al Fasola and Kadil Maharaj of Health Connects, originally ADOH, here to present. If you guys go ahead and turn on your video and launch your slides, we'll go ahead and kick off, and looking forward to it. Each company gets 15 minutes for both the presentation and the Q&A. Those in the audience, if you'd like to ask questions, put them through the chat box and we'll do our best to answer those. With that, guys, I'll go ahead and let you kick off.
Thank you, Hall and Shane, for setting this up. We're appreciative to be here today to discuss with you all one of the major problems facing the United States today in a post-COVID world, and that is the mental health crisis that has overwhelmed our health system. Everybody on our team, and perhaps some of you here, have either had friends or family or colleagues or members of church or athletic teams have serious mental health issues that has gone unattended. The ultimate consequence of that, of course, is addiction, violence toward others, and eventually suicide. We believe the combination of those things has actually brought down life expectancy in the U.S., even as cancer and heart disease and other treatments have begun to make a difference. And the thing about mental health is it hits every facet of society. It's prevalent in military, active military, veterans. It's prevalent in first responders, cops, fire, EMS. It touches college students, where 64% of them drop out because of unattended mental health issues over a 4-year term. It affects employers, where productivity is lost at a rate that is unprecedented, particularly since all of the factors that change the active workplace. And what we're seeing is, it kind of breaks your heart, but in New Jersey, they've asked us to come in and take a look at K through 12, because in the last several months, there's been a rash of 14-year-old girls committing suicide as a result of bullying and the maluse of technology. Now, let me just make a point before we go forward. This is not the first time that we have seen a crisis. Before Susan Komen, breast cancer was typically detected at stage 4. Since then, and the millions of dollars of research and universal assessments and screening, we've dramatically affected the mortality rates there. And just as COVID overwhelmed the telehealth system, where companies grew by 5,000%, we think there's a building tsunami requiring mental health assessment at a governmental as well as a healthcare policy methodology. So our solution is very, very simple. It's a digital mirror that obsoletes many questionnaires. In 90 seconds, we deliver to the provider a new vital sign alongside blood pressure. And this is a evaluation that has been broken down into the 8 key factors that provide predictive mechanisms for looking at mental health and the onset effect on chronic diseases. I'm sorry we can't go through this now, but I believe if you're interested in a follow-up, once you take this evaluation and see the scoring and the tracking that goes with it, you'll see that it's a potential breakthrough. And we've put this on mobile devices, on existing platforms. We can integrate into EHR. And once you've taken this survey in 90 seconds, a score comes up, much like the FICO score that determines creditworthiness. And it shows an ability to track this over time, as well as various action buttons that a provider can recommend to patients for self-help, even when they can't create that encounter that's so important, that now is an average of 82 days from the time somebody puts up their hand and says they're going down for the second time. It takes an average of 82 days for them to get to a provider. Well, I will assure you nothing good happens during those 82 days. And we have got to do something with the digital technology can offset this tremendous imbalance between supply and demand. And that solution for us is the Emoti screening device. So how bad is the problem? The blue line is mental health claims over the last 12 months. More mental health claims than every other disease that was filing a claim combined. Heart, hypertension, stroke, diabetes, COPD, kidney failure, liver failure. And that's why it's such a critical problem. And that's why it's taking 82 days. We have got to change that. So we have a clear B2B channel partner strategy to get the broadest utilization that we can, and at the same time to have near-term financial returns for our investor. We're gaining traction with leaders in the marketplace. I'm unable to debate with you today in the time that we have that we're talking about a TAM of $1 trillion and that we're talking about a SAM and a SOM that shrink down into the direct costs that we can identify on an 80-20 basis. Our primary customer that reflects our deep channel partner strategy is DocBot, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Doxy.me, which alongside of Zoom has 30% of the global market for psychologists and primary care. The purpose of these kinds of partnerships is co-branding, cross-marketing, co-development, and also in the case of Doxy, they've indicated a willingness and an interest in investing in us. 700,000 platform companies in one partnership. We have a partnership in RX, Emoti, that supplies data to Walgreens and Johnson & Johnson, and a number of other companies that we're implementing in our pipeline, which is one of the reasons we need some financial support. Funding request is for $1.8 million. Founders have put in $2 million to date, advisors $675,000. You see what the use of proceeds are. It's to put our team in a full-time position to implement what we have in the pipeline and to scale. So what we have is a 5-year plan to go from first mover to a gold standard in the analytics, creation, and connectivity of mental health data to be able to supply that to the marketplace. Our 5-year plan is, we don't believe aggressive. It's what we believe we're going to do. Let me tell you a bit about our most important asset, which is our leadership team. Some people believe that startup and emerging companies should be for the young. We argue with that point because there's 4 grandfathers on our team. And these are people that have been successful in their field and want to leave a legacy. We have people that are educated and experienced in employers. in every facet of the healthcare system. We have a strong medical team and a strong technology team. And I would like to stop now because I'd love to have some time for questions. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Al. Phil, Jordan, if you would like to turn on your video and microphone. Phil, would you like to ask the first question?
Yeah, thanks for that presentation, Al. How many active paying customers do you currently have?
4.
And does one of them represent a large share of the revenue?
About 60% of the revenue comes from a company by the name of Lazo that supports Johnson & Johnson and Walgreens. One of our customers has been with us for 15 months, where we essentially did our clinical trial with them, and now they're incorporating us into a larger number of clinics. We have a company that is using our service for insurance, and the purpose of having that kind of wide distribution is we have built our product to be able to deal on a population level, to deal with provider, and we've recently been able to get a patient-facing distribution system because we brought our MODI assessment down to about 0.3 cents per. So I won't.
Is it a SaaS model, your revenue model?
I don't think it's a SaaS model.
So what is the revenue model? On what basis do you charge your customers?
On an enterprise basis, we either charge per click or we charge a licensing fee. When we're using data from some of our data providers like SureScripts and LexisNexis, it's done on a per click basis.
They're paying for every time like one of their insureds clicks?
Correct.
Clicks to take the 90-second survey?
Either that, or we also have an RX product in which we get patient data from our customers, take the SureScripts data, do some magic with it, and then pass it on. And the MODI, we are pushing very hard to initiate a free product starting April 1st for 90 days. And that is the Doxy model. So we want to offer the MODI for 90 days free to their 700,000 provider portfolio.
One more question. I'll let Jordan jump in after that. But what's your current revenue run rate?
We're at about 80,000 a month. And our biggest challenge is having the resources to onboard 4 new customers, which is why we're seeking some outside support.
I thought those customers were live, onboarded. I thought they were already onboarded.
We have 4 that are on board, and we have 4 that are coming. One of them is exceedingly large. So we're fighting to be able to scale. The interest that we're getting is fairly large companies.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So my question is kind of on the provider side. Is there, any jurisdictions that you've looked at, like California, for example, where, wellness checks would include something like this, and you could actually work directly with, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and have just integrated into like an annual wellness check?
Wow, that's smart. We have not. I mean, I would be misleading if I said we have this organized on a state-by-state basis. The problem is on a state-by-state basis, but there are very different solutions in each jurisdiction. We are leading toward a request in New Jersey to provide universal mental health screening for K through 12.
Yeah, I would have you look at that. California is just one example, but I'm sure there's many others now, just based off of what's happened over the last 3 to 4 years. And then another question would be, in terms of, exit, are you looking at more towards the the Johnson and Johnsons of the world, or the insurance groups, or hospital systems, or where do you think there's the most traction, I guess?
Well, that's a good question. We think there's three different types of exits. One of them is in the process that we're currently undertaking, which is getting strategic partners that also make an investment where we are accretive to their existing portfolio in terms of adding stickiness like Doxy, as well as becoming a vehicle for expanding their base beyond psychologists into primary care. We think a strategic partner would be the best solution for both parties as they get to know each other and we're able to develop that way. I also think that a platform company, Optum, comes as one that has a history of bringing in companies that are coming into the A round and have evidence that they have a very significant trajectory ahead of them if they can put the resources behind them. And I wouldn't be surprised if a company outside of healthcare were to come in and look at this. We have a intellectual property that has been created since the prior art that Apple and Samsung collected about 20 patents based on emojis, and for a genetically enhanced emoji that could work on devices, we think that might come out of left field.
Quick, can I jump in with a quick follow-up?
Sure, go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, Al, what percentage of current revenue is from the RX product?
We're about 50-50 right now, and we're trying to get away from the RX product because we've made some significant improvements in the technology for implementing the MODI.
Okay. I guess that's why you didn't mention it really in your pitch.
Well,
right?
Yeah, strategically, I didn't want to get into something that I believe is, I mean, I'd like to use both. Some people believe there's great space between colliding the SureScripts data with behavioral health, and while that may be true, I'm putting that in a roadmap.
Got it. Thanks.
Great, guys. Well, that ends our session for this group here. Next up is, I want to thank Al and Cadil for the presentation. And next we have Scott McLeod of Augmented Training. Scott, if you can come on up and show your slides, we'll kick off with you.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Scott McLeod here in Austin, and I am the CEO of Augmented Training Systems. The bottom line is mid to large organizations have a really difficult time training large groups of people. I spent 31 years in the Army training my battalions and brigades for combat in Iraq and Afghanistan, and live training is very expensive and it's difficult to do. And that problem is the same for large hospital systems, for large governmental entities, and other large Fortune 500 businesses. So what we do is we provide a cloud-based learning management system platform that uses gamulation, virtual reality, to allow professionals to access very realistic, immersive, and interactive educational environments. This results in increased confidence, a reduction in errors, faster and more efficient than traditional outcomes, reduction in stress and PTSD. And the best part is unlike most training that is what we call familiarization training, where someone may only go through 1 or 2 times, we can actually track the individual go rates of trainees. So for, again, large organizations, this is significant. It allows you to tailor training to the needs of each individual, as opposed to relying upon what we call one-size-fits-all training. So here's our solution. We have invested in a platform technology. You'll find that about 90% of AR, VR companies are content only. The platform is expensive. We've got about $500,000 invested into our platform, and that platform enables us to not only provide our own content, but also to host content from other providers. And the platform also enables the integration of other technologies similar to biometrics or retinal eye technology. And then finally, the platform is what gives you enhanced capabilities like telepresence, gamification, data analytics, etc. So what we want to be over the long term is the Netflix of training. Hosting training, content that we've created, other content, etc. That's what we see ourselves as. Now, these are some current trainings that we're doing right now. We've had a big interest from hospital organizations and others for active shooter, mass casualty training. Typically, what you'll have in a mass casualty incident is the trigger might be an active shooting event. And then that's followed by what's called a mass casualty event. And then after that, you'll go into something called incident command. So we often get asked for, hey, can you do mass casualty? Can you do active shooter? The training on the far right is a company in Houston called General Truck Body. And they make a very large ambulance platform, $750,000 platform. It requires some fairly advanced training for the operators to utilize it. So for future trainings, we're getting requests right now for hazmat, workplace violence. I mentioned incident command, and then more extensive active shooter training as it relates to education. Now, what we see the platform doing is, again, imagine we're the Netflix of training. So we're hanging content on the platform that enables professionals to accomplish their continuing education unit requirements each year. And that's a never-ending supply for fire, police, emergency medical services, and professional medical personnel. Every year, they've got those CEU requirements. Wanted to mention a school safety pilot back in August. The Uvalde tragedy occurred in Texas in July of last year. In August, we briefed the Texas governor's staff, as well as leaders in the Texas Education Agency. And we're moving forward on a pilot to actually prove that we can help solve the training problem that our school districts in Texas have. You've got 1,000 school districts with more than 300,000 teachers spread across 254 counties. And it is a significant training problem. So working with Redmer Productions, we've got a couple of local school districts here in School, Texas. We're also working with an organization called I Love You Guys, and they create the training content used across all 54 states and territories in the vast majority of public schools in the United States. And they've given us permission to utilize their content, which is what Texas and most teachers in the United States are trained on. So we're moving forward that. We're pretty excited about just what that offers for our educators. Here's our team. Again, I'm a retired military officer. Our founder is Dr. Scott Smith. He established the first VR lab in Texas. Grayson Lawrence, they're both professors at Texas State University. And then we've got George over in Greece. We've got a really qualified team. We've got a lot of military experience on our team and EMS experience. And so recently added AJ there. I don't know if you're familiar with AJ Redmer, but he worked on the Xbox project at Microsoft and now has Redmer Enterprises and Redmer University, and primarily uses gamulation to train universities and hospitals across the United States. So we just wanted to highlight that this partnership with Redmer Productions is pretty significant, not only because of his reputation within the training space, but also because he already has established relationships with approximately 70 universities and hospitals across the United States. And this increases our capability. So he's now allowing us, we can not only offer our training content and technology, but we can also offer his. Competitive analysis, the bottom line is there aren't enough VR companies in the United States to meet the demand. And what we're seeing is when you do take a deep dive and you look at them, I think what you'll find that we offer across the board is superior capability. One, because of the platform. Two, because of our team. And three, because of our experience. So it's a software as a service business model. The cost curve really comes in at scale when we're talking to large organizations. We spend a lot of time on the front end. We're willing to do pilots for organizations to get our feet in the door. And then from there, we can negotiate the price based on the size of the training audience. And I'll give you an example of that here in just a second. 2,000 users, 10 active contracts. Super excited about having contracts right now with Kaiser Permanente and Aurora Health. And we don't have the contract yet, but last week we closed the deal, verbal agreement from Allied Universal. Allied Universal is the largest security company in the world. They have approximately 800,000 employees, and they provide security services to more than 1,700 hospitals. And they have asked us to build a workplace violence training for them. Sales strategy, again, channel sales is a great opportunity for us right now. To be honest with you, most of our customers find us. U.S. State Department, we just turned in an RFP for them. They found us. We don't have a full-time sales lead. We are truly a startup company, but are super excited about what we're seeing this year, which is larger organizations actually tracking us down and asking us to look at their needs. The market's immense. Rather than just focusing on the numbers, what I would tell you is we're talking to major hospital systems, probably one every 2 to 3 weeks. We haven't found a single hospital system yet in the United States that has a VR training strategy. A lot of different groups are experimenting with it, but nobody has the enterprise-wide solution. So we're really confident that these numbers are accurate in the sense that they project the need across industry, but it's only going to get bigger. What we are focusing on, though, is the emergency management and hospital space. We believe that's the smart play for us right now, and that's where our content with mass casualty training has been focused on. Estimated sales, in our first year, I think we made 50, 60 grand. This year we went up to around 100, and we're looking at approximately $500,000 in 2023 based on how things are going. And that could actually increase now because of the new deal with Allied Universal. It could be bigger than what we first projected, which was a $60,000 pilot. There's our financial projections. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to race through this. We are truly a startup, so we believe to really jump the chasm, we need at least $1 million. Right now I'm part-time, my founder is part-time. The only full-time personnel we have are our developers, which is a group of Greeks and a group of Indian developers. And so we're starting at $1 million, and we want to be able to go full-time and bring in sales and marketing help. So again, that's how we're going to use the funding right there: full-time sales, marketing, some platform development of training. And our exit, we believe that an organization much like Allied Universal that has a large training need would be, we think we'd probably get acquired by a corporation like that, or somebody in the e-learning space who wants that opportunity to provide that training. So I have been long-winded, I apologize, but what questions can I answer for you?
Thank you, Scott. Jordan, do you want to kick off with the first question today?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Scott. I guess one of my questions is content creation can get expensive. So if you're going to be the next Netflix, they spent billions of dollars building out their own studio. How do you see that for yourselves in terms of being able to create new content?
Well, in Chicago's case, the training that we provided to them cost them $60,000. Prior to that, they were spending $700,000 to train 1,000 doctors, nurses, and techs, and they could only do it every 2 to 3 years. So for $60,000, they're now able to accomplish that same need. This is ones and zeros. It is so much cheaper than live training. They already have the training requirement. They can either choose to do it the old expensive way, or they can choose to do it the new, cheaper, and more effective way.
Great. Phil, you have a question?
And then I guess
So
the
just
follow-up to that would be,
Go ahead, Jordan.
go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on your question, Jordan, and ask Scott. So it sounds like you're charging your customers upfront for the content production for whatever content module they want. You're charging them upfront for that. Is that correct?
Yeah, if we're making it from scratch, I mean, they're going to get charged, obviously, if we're building a from scratch product. However, once a product's been built and it's an on-the-shelf product, for example, mass casualty right now, there's a much lower entry fee to get into that. And so it really becomes a per user approach versus, the cost of developing the content. But there's so little content out there that you're going to assume that in most places, you're going to have to pay for the creation. But with Allied Universal, this is budget dust to them. They've got nurses and doctors all across the United States that are being assaulted by patients. So this is well within their interest to go ahead and pay for the creation of that workplace violence and then using it across 1,700 hospitals.
And do the customers have to have the hardware, like the VR hardware, to view and to take advantage of the training?
All they need is a set of goggles. We make no profit on the goggles. We use the Oculus Quest. It's a very, very cheap and expensive set of goggles. And so for these big organizations, many of them already have them because they're experimenting, especially in the medical community. But even if they don't, you're looking, at $299 for some of the best and most up-to-date hardware. There's no server requirement. There's no wires. There's nothing else. So it's a very, very low actual, training cost requirement for hardware.
How long has your sales cycle been with these customers?
Yeah, so when it's a training that, Chicago was a 2-month from start to finish from the time we got the check. That was pretty fast because they really wanted it. Others take longer. We spend a lot of time coaching, organizational leaders as to how to use this technology. Many have not used it. That can seem daunting at times, and it would make us think, wow, this is taking a long time. But again, we've talked to so many now, we know they don't have it. So we do see a fairly long sales cycle if the leadership, if they're not familiar with the technology. But we think that will improve, obviously, as it becomes more pervasive across industry.
Of course. Got it. Scott, thank you. And thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you. It was a privilege.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott. And with that, we'll close this one out and we'll start with our next one. Jay Cormier of Idaptic. If you could go ahead and launch your slides, we'll kick off next.
Okay, can everyone see that and hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm Jay Cormier, founder and CEO of Idaptic. We're going to shift gears here from virtual reality to augmented reality. So we are an augmented reality visual aid driven by AI to help people see better. Right here on the cover is Elizabeth Baker. She's one of our spokespeople. Elizabeth is legally blind. She's also a physical therapist. With our i5 here, our latest product, this was the first time in her life she could read the blood pressure cuff. So with that, what are we? So we are at the heart a proprietary software platform that is embedded in open market augmented reality glasses to create that AR visual aid system. This integrates with the real world, so you have full mobility and a wide range of use tasks. To be clear, this is an FDA Class 1 exempt device, so no FDA approval is required. We have 8 patents granted, 14 more pending. So what it does is conceptually, we're taking in an image through the camera. Our proprietary software and systems process that image, enhance that image, and adapt to the customer's habits, environment, and visual deficits. And that gets displayed on high quality, high resolution displays in front of their eyes. So our initial indication is to go after macular degeneration. macular degeneration is a slow loss of central vision. However, you always retain your peripheral vision. And of course, that's what we're taking advantage of. We are optimizing that peripheral vision and getting it to mimic central vision so people can function normally and remain independent. So this is a huge market. We believe on the order of $1 trillion opportunity. 400 million people worldwide suffer from various retinal diseases. Nearly half of that is macular degeneration. Of course, the problem with AMD is 90% of AMD is dry AMD, has no cure or therapy. We also just are completing a clinical study on diabetic retinopathy, which is another 100 million people. And we have foundational patents to attack something called macular pucker or scarring, which is a distortion of vision. So our initial beachhead, of course, is the United States. We think that alone is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. So again, a little deeper into the technology, what do? We're enhancing the vision and adapting to the user. So our adaptive systems and a lot of our patents revolve around these adaptive systems and method patents. Not only enhance the image, we can do pixel remapping. It is adaptive, and that's key because just like a thumbprint, which is unique to every person, the retina is unique to every person. And of course, the way the disease develops, therefore, is unique. So you do need something that's customizable. This is also data enabled and remote upgradable for future software, monthly recurring revenue type models. So that's our product on the right. The product is the glasses and the phone. This happens to be our tethered model. So moving over to traction, we did prove early on efficacy with the clinical study. Although, again, this was not required by the FDA, we felt it was very important to convince doctors as well as users of the impact this product can make. So it had two main endpoints, the first being improvements in visual acuity. And again, we're measuring visual acuity improvement of our product, Idaptic, over their regular glasses. And this is where we saw anywhere from a 3 to 6 line improvement. That's a doubling to quadrupling of visual acuity. So again, just for calibration, we who either don't need glasses or have glasses tend to have best corrected visual acuity of 20/20. When people can't get their vision corrected better than 20/70, they're considered low vision. 2200 is legally blind. We help people 20/70 to 2400. So major impact on the vision side, but probably even more important is our second endpoint, which is time tasks of daily living. We wanted to quantify how this helps someone remain independent. And this is where we saw a 5 times ability to complete tasks with the Idaptic glasses versus their regular glasses over a range of use cases, a range of distances. So this truly can be the one product that solves all of their needs, except for legal reasons, we say no driving. Okay, so again, just talking about the range of those use cases, you see some of our users here. We talked about Elizabeth. Not only has she used it in the clinic for her work, but she also is able to now to go to the soccer games and see which kid on the field is hers. So she certainly is using this for leisure activities. You see Chuck here, who decided maybe one of the uses for the glasses was him to going to the casino so he can see what's going on. Sam loves to travel, so here he is on a cruise to Cabo. So certainly a wide range of use cases, and that's what we're most happy about with the traction for Idaptic. So going over to the business side, we see this very much like the hearing aid market. Okay, the hearing aid market is a similar market size, similar demographic. So therefore, we priced it similarly. So it's priced right on top of hearing aids, and it has a similar reimbursement pathway, which is for the most part a direct consumer payable. The hearing aid market today is an $8 billion market. So our most popular product is our mid-range product here, the i5. We found that certainly the premier product is interesting for some people because it's wireless, but they prefer the i5 for its simplicity, and the i5 outperforms the i4. So we're selling in the most part between that $3,000 to $4,000 range MSRP. So having said that, I want to just quickly look at our product traction and milestones. We've been at this for a few years because those augmented reality glasses just were not quite there yet. With our i5 announcement last October, we've hit the market target dead on. We're seeing the user base ramp, and we tend to sell through the doctors. I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. Again, just had our 8th patent granted, and we're continuing to ramp our user base. Also, I should insert in here, we're just soft launching a new partnership as well. So I'm happy to talk about that in the Q&A. And we think that by the end of this year, even we're going to hit that break-even point. We are raising money to expand the sales channel so we can continue this revenue scaling. So again, going back to the channel, we've tested both direct-to-consumer, dealer channels, as well as doctor channels, and we find the optometrists tend to outperform everyone with very high retention rates, very low support. And this, of course, is a huge opportunity because there are over 40,000 of these eye care professionals across the country. So with our kind of half a salesperson, this is where we're focusing to ramp that up as we go. And then we do see these leverage points in these larger practice groups, as well as these larger buying groups. So from a competitive standpoint, this has been tried in the past, but it's been tried with virtual reality, which of course people find very unsatisfying because you're wearing this bulky brick on your head. But more importantly, it takes away their peripheral vision. It is completely immersive, so they're not integrated to the real world. And that's not a practical use case for these low vision people. Again, the market is also made up of these handheld magnifiers, desktop magnifiers. So there's certainly a market out there, but it's very limiting in its use cases. So we believe we stand alone and are certainly hitting all the check boxes. And we can see that every day as the users and the doctors tell us it's the best thing on the market. From a team standpoint, a seasoned both technology and medical team, myself and my CTO certainly have had past successful startups. Dr. Mehta, our chief medical officer, is a retina specialist, also a very interesting guy because his undergraduate was in software at MIT before he went into medicine. We believe, if I can get to the next slide here, that we have the best medical advisory team in the business with some of the, sorry about that, with some of the leaders in both retina, optometry, and low vision in the country and even the world. So we see a large upside potential. We're planning to grow 6 to 10x this year, of course, depending on funding, and then continue the growth from there as we really focus on that optometry channel and some of our partnerships come up to accelerate that growth. So with a rather modest penetration in the market, we think we can get to a multi-$100 million revenue in the next 5 years. So with that, I would invite everyone to join our journey to be the #1 in this nascent multi-billion-dollar visual aid market by offering the best technology, the easiest to use for our users and the most impactful, easy to dispense for our eye care partners. And of course, this is at the heart a software platform, so we can create a community with continuous engagement through software and services. And with that, I'd like to thank you and leave about 5 minutes for Q&A.
Great, thanks, Jay. Jordan, you want to kick us off with the first question?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, just trying to get off mute there.
No problem.
Thank you for the time, Jay. I saw in the chat that CCA had invested in you guys. What would you say about the business? If you're following the hearing aid model, what keeps you up at night about the business? It seems like you've got a great path, but what are your biggest worries about moving forward?
Well, I think it's all about at this point, because we have really conquered the hill on the technology. It's really about expanding that channel fast enough. And that, of course, is largely a capital problem because it does take an investment in salespeople to get these doctors sold and onboarded. Once you get them on board, it's a beautiful model. We find they take minimal support. We answer the phone, we take their orders. And that the back end of that model works really nicely and efficiently, but it does take some investment up front to get that flywheel turning, if you will.
Is there, on that sales team side of things, do you see something like putting a partner with like a Costco and being in their eye center, for example, as an opportunity for you guys, or is there just not enough traction when you do something like that?
Yeah, so I think that is an opportunity, but I think it's further out, Jordan. So for instance, I've talked to some of the hearing aid manufacturers, and they basically said, Costco came into that hearing aid market after it was very well established.
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're at that early establishment point. What I think is more exciting and has even more potential upside is our new partnership with a company called Humanware. They're a low vision company. So they have a dealer channel in place so we can efficiently help scale through them. But what's really critical about that partnership is Humanware is a wholly owned subsidiary of Essilor. Essilor is the biggest eye care company in the world. Okay, and so there's a lot of leverage both on the marketing side, but also eventually on that sales channel side. And so not only I think is that going to help us accelerate quickly, but of course, that could also be an early exit.
Well, thanks,
I'll
Jordan.
let you jump in.
Bill, what questions do you have?
Yeah, I have a few questions. Jay, you mentioned software services, software and services, but my understanding is today it's a 100% hardware model. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's 100% upfront payment today, right? Our software is embedded in the phone and the glasses, and we sell that as a solution. However, if you think about, for instance, even our next product, that product is upgradable. So as we add in new features, people can get access to those features with a modest software subscription. That's
Okay,
one
but currently there's no software subscription, right?
Currently, we only do that on a very selective basis. Correct.
How many optometrists do you have currently selling?
So we had about 40 total last year. I would say about half of those are averaging roughly one a quarter at this point, and the other half, of course, are in that onboarding process because we just started ramping.
And then it looked like from your competition side that Orcam might have been the closest competitor. I don't know if you consider them to be or not, but maybe you can just explain your differentiation versus them.
Yeah, so absolutely. So Orcam, you can think of it as a competitor or it's complementary. Orcam does not help your vision. What it does is it's for someone that doesn't have vision, it's basically optical character reading. So it's basically looking at something and reading it into your ear. Okay, so
I see. Well, who do you consider to be your closest competitor?
yeah, so those closest ones would be like the Iris Vision or eSight that are those VR headsets.
And why is that not as good as an AR solution?
Because the VR, the first thing you do when you put it on your head is it takes away your peripheral vision. Okay, so you just handicap the person. They can't move. They can't use it in a variety of use cases. And so it's limiting for that reason. And then there's just the pure cosmetics of it as well, Phil, is people aren't going to go to the store wearing a VR headset.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. And David, thanks very much for your kind words in the chat.
Great, thanks, Jay. Appreciate that. We also need to run the poll for augmented. We'll do that right now. And then after that, we'll have Matt Smentek come up and talk about Unchained Systems. Matt, ahead.
Hi, I'm Matt from Unchained Systems, where we've combined our expertise in the men's grooming business and software product development to solve the issues that are inhibiting the personal services industry. Our mission is to empower personal services businesses to thrive. My wife and I are multi-unit franchisee owners of Diesel Barbershop in Austin, Texas. What's the problem? So the customer experience in the personal services space is antiquated. To book a simple appointment, a customer has to click or input up to 29 times to book an appointment. Customers are expecting the 24/7 digital booking solution with a modern UI that works, but they're not getting it today. Owners and managers need one tool for reporting, analytics, scheduling, and labor management. There's not a world-class platform for franchisors and multi-store owners. While there's been major advances in fintech, delivery, and restaurant management software, personal services has been neglected. Our stakeholders are underwhelmed. So first off, starting with the end customer, a patron of a barbershop or spa, they need an omni-channel efficient booking system with a modern UI. Our employees need more facts on customer needs and wants in order to earn additional income. Store managers need tools to help schedule and manage their store and their team. Our store owners need tools to help run a profitable operation, attracting and retaining customers and staff. And franchisors need brand consistency, robust reporting and analytics, and royalty management tools. The solution is amplified by Unchained Systems. It's a superior digital experience for every stakeholder. At the heart of our solution is a purpose-built point of sale and customer relationship management system. It's an enterprise cloud solution, which sits as a vertical SaaS platform. A few callouts here. The brand website and the booking websites in most of the competing solutions never are matching. And so think about creating a Squarespace for franchisors and multi-unit owners of personal services businesses. Quick and easy registration, think OpenTable and Resi for booking and applying that to this ecosystem. And quick and easy customer checkout, inventory management, and scheduling. Think of what Toast has done for the restaurant category. Amplify is an operating system for franchisors, franchisees, and multi-store owners. This is a list of capabilities that are currently live now and a roadmap for the rest of this year and into early 24 and early 25. Our first customer is us. So the chairman of our company is the decision maker on the software platform for his 3 brands, which consist of currently 31 open barbershops across the United States. There's 7 stores that are in the construction process, bringing it to 38. And Diesel Barbershop has sold store licenses for 115 locations scheduled to open by 2027. 2 of the brands have not started franchising, but are expecting to this year. Our second customer is also an investor in Unchained Systems, Premier Cuts. They've been in business for 18 years. There's 5 locations in Central Texas. This brings the initial store count to 43 with 0 sales and marketing. What does the market size look like? So if you took the total US hair and nails locations based on Ibis World 1.8 million, multiplied it by our $540 a month, it's a $7 billion TAM, just the US, no international. You look at our service addressable market, which is primarily franchisees and multi-store owners. This is about a $400 million market, just US. And if you look at our target 1,800 locations out to 2029, which is about 3% of the marketplace, it's an $11 million ARR. Current business model is monthly SaaS. So starting with the smaller stores like Premier Cuts that need basic capabilities at $150 per location, with Diesel, Henley's, Cowboy Up, and all the others that are like that, $250 a month. We make 30 basis points on the credit card transactions. Roughly 90% of the transactions in the barbershop space are credit card versus cash. And then we also make 3 cents per text message. So every reminder about an appointment. All in, based upon current capabilities, that's $490 of revenue per store per month. We've got product extensions going out several years that will add additional revenue, including early tip management, a scheduling AI, and a labor management AI for the staff. Starting in Q2 of 2024, this is what the revenue model looks like, roughly $300,000 a year. Again, this is just based on the existing sales. And then this is a conservative financial model going out to 2029, scaling to 2,000 locations. From a team perspective, Shane Brown is the founder of Diesel Barbershop and my co-founder in this company. He also founded Henley's Gentlemen's Grooming, and he also owns Cowboy Up. Myself, I'm a 25-year veteran of developing systems and products, including the last 11 years at Apple, developing omni-channel solutions, many that are potentially used by people on this call today. And then Paris Shaw is the head of our product and engineering. He's been a leader at multiple venture-backed startups with 2 exits. And then Alex Hooper launched and scaled Uber in Texas, and he's led business transformations at Vista Equity Partners. So to summarize, Amplify is the reoccurring revenue SaaS business powering the original reoccurring revenue business, haircuts. We're targeting franchisors and multi-store owners. We're extendable into other adjacencies over time, including spa, nails, acupuncture, and chiro. and we're a vertical SaaS play or a fintech play, depending on how you think about it. We're raising $2 million on a safe. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Great, thanks, Matt. Phil, you want to kick off with the first question?
Sure. Thank you, Matt, for the presentation. So first, I'm wondering why you're focused just on the franchisor space right now.
There's a lot of competition in this space. So if you're a single, what's called booth rental model, there's plenty of solutions. That's a big portion of the business. If you are a single store, there's great solutions for that. The complexity really gets to be when you're multi-store, and particularly if you're a franchisor, having the tools to identify and standardize your service, your descriptions, your products, your promo codes. None of the solutions today that I'm aware of have any sort of solution for that. And so today that's really our sweet spot. And because of who we know in the ecosystem, Shane's been in this business for 12 years. All his friends own businesses in the multi-unit space. This is an underserved category.
Are you saying that companies like MindBody don't have a good solution for franchisors?
For the men's hair market, yes, we passed on them several times because they could not meet our needs.
I'm surprised to hear that, because I mean they seem to be working with a lot of franchise companies.
They bought a company called Booker a couple of years back. They really, from our understanding, did not do well with the integration, and we passed on them.
And does it take you a while to onboard a new customer? Because it seems like there's a long delay between, adding customers, the initial customers, and revenue recognition.
So right now we've been developing the solution for roughly a year and a half. So building point of sale, customer relationship management, cash management, inventory management. It's a big undertaking. So we spent about a year developing the first solution. We kind of get the test store up and running. We've been updating it basically every 2 weeks since last July. And we've not begun any sort of formal sales yet because we're still kind of perfecting the product and getting ready to roll it out. But I do anticipate if you're going to be, have hundreds of locations, that the sales cycle time is probably going to be in the 6 months plus range.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Jordan, what questions do you have?
So just looking at, somebody that's closely related into the space, what does somebody like a Dry Bar use? So they're multi-location, they're pretty big. How does your offering, could you get into there, I guess?
So Dry Bar, I believe, is it's like the female blow dry bar.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with their particular solution. I suspect that they're probably on Zenoti. So the key people in this category are MindBody and Zenoti. Everyone that I've talked to, we're talking about hundreds of people, don't like either platform. And so, we've basically been the antithesis of this. It's for us, by us. And, we're experts with deep domain experience. And what I did at Apple is develop integrated omni-channel software, and this is what we're planning to build here. I can't speak to their specific use case.
Okay, and then in terms of just getting buy-in at the franchise or level. And being able to take this across multiple different brands if you guys wanted to. I mean, I think you could end up being an acquisition target just for the software versus, the actual brand that you've got around the actual barbershop or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you guys look at that or think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to get big or get bought. I would not be surprised if MindBody or Zenoti or Vista Equity or somebody like that picks us up once we start, taking some market share away. And that's fine with us.
Okay. And is that, do you find yourself, since you've been in the business for so long, do you find yourself wanting to be more on the software side or?
Well, I've always been in the hardware software side. My co-founder, Shane, has been in barbershop space for 12 years. So we're kind of a nice And then my wife and I run our own barber shops. We've got one now, we got one that's opening in a couple weeks, and then we'll have 6 in Austin. We really like that it's inflation resistant, Amazon resistant. You can't outsource it to China. And it's a nice annuity for my, 8-year-old son to inherit someday. And what we found is, when I first took the first 2 weeks off to run the store, when we first got into this business, how poor the software was. And so, I went down the rabbit hole trying to find better solutions, and there was pockets of capabilities, but not the entire suite. So I was like, well, let's just build it ourselves. And that's what we spent the last 18 months doing.
That's really interesting. I'm very interested in it. I think because I'm signed up as a panelist, I'm not actually able to respond to the questions, but I would love to connect with you afterwards. Definitely interested in what you're working on. So thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Thanks. And Matt, there's a few questions from the audience. The first one is, what is the valuation and what kind of safe note? Is it pre-money or post-money on that valuation?
We've not valued the company. So what we've done to date is pretty much friends and family. Myself and my co-founder have invested at a discount to a Series A. So we've not set a valuation yet. To me, it's still hard to set a valuation.
Great. And then on the revenue model, what portion of your revenue is recurring and what portion is not?
So the SaaS is all recurring. The SMS and credit card basis points is all transactional based. So every time you book an appointment, you get 3 reminders. There's 3 text messages. That's 9 cents. It costs us about a penny. So that's revenue model. And then really it's the 30 basis points for the for the credit card. Once you get to $50 million in platform revenue, you can become what's called a payment facilitator and get up to 90 basis points. So just, it's a reoccurring revenue model supporting the original reoccurring revenue business, haircuts. Even if you just have 1% of all haircuts in the United States, it's a gigantic business, and that's kind of where we're headed.
Great. Dave Freeman, TCA, thanks for joining us here on the panel. Did you have any questions for Matt?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to my question relating to safe. What kind of safe are you thinking about, pre or post money? There's a big difference because we, the angels, don't like safes to begin with. And if it's a pre-money, you're going to exclude 90% of the angels.
Yeah, no, it's a post money safe. I think it's Y Combinators. I think it's the 3rd one down on their website. So I can double check, but I believe it's post money safe.
All right. So when I look at your clients on this list, I look at Henley's Cowboy Up Diesel. I don't know Premier Cuts, but it seems like these are all the companies that your founders own or participate in. What are you doing to gain companies outside of your own little cadre of companies?
Yeah, our plan is the back end of this year with the money to hire sales and marketing staff. To date, it's myself, a couple contractors, and all software developers. So there's been no sales and marketing to date.
Yeah. So one of my clients is a company called Well Groomed Pets. They're a franchisee. Haircuts for dogs, but it's close enough, right? So send me some stuff. I want to get his take because I don't understand this market as well as you do. I'm not sure I agree or don't agree with where you fit into the other competition out there in the grand scheme of things. But I'd like to get his perspective. And then if it makes sense, maybe it's something that we look at if there's something unique. But do you have any IP, or is this just a mechanism of cobbling things together?
We do have some IP. Slide here on, we've got a provisional patent for our solution, including microservices, which is a way of taking standardized capabilities and then augmenting them by industry specific verticals.
Okay, so your final question, I promise. Your focus is on franchisees that have a minimum number of employees, I would assume. So are you talking about, because if it's a single sole practitioner like my hairstylist, I don't think this will do anything for her.
Correct. Yeah, we could develop an Amplify Lite and strip it down over time, but our core use case is franchisors and multi-store owners. That's where the capabilities have been developed to date.
Got it.
It's actually easier to strip stuff out and sell it down market, but we believe that this area is most underserved. And, to date, we've been successful raising capital through people in this ecosystem.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the comments.
Great. Thanks, Matt, for that presentation. Also on the polls today, for those in the audience, if you'd like to learn more about Jordan Clancy and the New Mexico Vintage Fund, or Phil Nadell and the Forefront Venture Partners, please click there and we'll connect you with our panelists. Also want to thank Dave Friedman of Tech Coast Angels for joining us today. And with that, we'll go ahead and close it out and look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Thanks so much.